Welcome to Impact OC, the only program showcasing the people and organizations shaping Orange County. With your host, Don Camber.
Hello, live from the OC Talk Radio studios at UCI's Beal Applied Innovation Center. I'm OC Talk Radio Public Affairs Director Don Camber with another great guest positively impacting our community. Today, I welcome APAC ATI Project Workforce founder and CEO Chris Knuth. The nonprofit organization provides innovative automotive technical training combined with personal growth and transformation skills to meet the demands of life by empowering students with the knowledge, tools, and resources to become the people they need to be to realize their dreams and advance their automotive industry career. Chris is the co-owner of Star Motors European Service in San Juan Capistrano. After traveling to Uganda in 2020, Chris saw the need for quality repair shops and technicians. He co-founded APAC Africa. APAC Africa's mission was supposed to be to train technicians and establish a network of quality repair shops throughout Uganda, East Africa, and beyond. Instead, the organization ended up focusing on marketable computer skills like coding, programming, web design, and accounting software. Inspired by that ongoing work in Africa, Chris founded APAC ATI in San Juan Capistrano. He rebranded the organization in 2024 to better reflect his work. Thank you, Chris, for being on Impact OC.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Chris, please explain why your organization serves veterans, the recovery community, formerly incarcerated individuals, and other at-risk communities.
Sure. Well, all of the skilled labor trades are in dire need for workers, and I wanted to provide opportunity for people that have had significant barriers to that. I also wanted to create a motivated workforce. And I thought that when I started doing research, there's just so many ways that veterans fall through the cracks. Looking at veteran suicide rates, depression, mental health, I thought, we have a great community in auto repair. I think we have a great sense of purpose, and I thought that'd be a really good fit for veterans. They also had a lot of skills that would bridge over into the work that we do. Same thing with formerly incarcerated people. Their opportunities are very, very limited when they're released or paroled. And that's a big reason why people reoffend and go back to prison, is because there's no opportunity there for them. And so again, I start looking at the statistics and I just wasn't happy with what I saw. And I know that we could do better than that. If people are really rehabilitated, they really want a new start, then I think there's got to be some of us that stand up and provide that opportunity. And so that's what we're doing. And then the same thing in recovery. People get into alcoholism and addiction for many different reasons. And again, there's just significant barriers to opportunity on the other side of these things. And the last thing I'll say about it is each one of us, everybody that I talk to out there, is somehow impacted. Families are impacted by alcoholism and addiction, incarceration, people that have served in our armed forces. So it's something that we all kind of share in common too. And so what I really wanted to do here is get the community, get all of us together, create a grassroots kind of movement where we can all do something about these issues and provide solutions working together.
So how did you form this?
Well, first I formulated the idea, and then I just, took the steps to form a nonprofit. And the reason I chose a nonprofit is for that same reason, is I wanted to build community. I wanted us to all pitch in and lend a hand. I wanted to, have access to funding and things like that. So it hasn't exactly worked out how I thought it would. And in many ways, it's worked out different than I expected. So that's kind of how I formed at least the concept of who we wanted to work with and what that would look like. Now, the training side is a whole other concept that we can talk about if the time comes
Yeah.
for that.
Well, I'd be interested to know what is the aptitude that is required in order to be in your training program.
Sure. Not everyone has a mechanical aptitude, right? So that's important. And a lot of that we can find out through just an interview process. You know, a lot of people that are interested in working on things have a history of working on things, right? They're the kids that took their toys apart or tried to fix things around the house. So it's fairly easy to recognize that talent and then look towards developing it. And that's another kind of pillar, I guess, of our program is how we're training these types of skills. And traditionally, this is done in a linear fashion in like trade schools. And what I mean by linear, people, will have coursework, right? Different areas of the vehicle, like electrical or brakes or this or that. And they go through semesters and they take quizzes and they, write papers and things like that. And there's very little hands-on learning in a shop environment. And what I've found with independent repair shops is it's a perfect place to have an immersive style training program. I also looked at how we learn a second language. I've seen people take 4 years of a foreign language in school and then they still can't speak the language, or they're not confident, or they're shy about it. And then I've heard of other people going to, a country to learn a second language, and just being in that environment, they become fluent very quickly. And so having a repair shop, we're taking a non-linear approach to our training. It's more immersive. We're accessing the brain differently for retaining information and doing repetitive actions. Our students also onboard the new students, so they're reinforcing their learning by training and teaching others how to do it.
So explain the curriculum.
So the curriculum, again, I wanted it to be nonlinear. I didn't want to have cohorts. So what we did, or what I did actually, is I created modules that contain different like skill levels and content around how someone would come in to get started, and then how the training would progress with ample experience. And so these modules are set up so that when students come in, they can test, and then we can see where they are, what they know already, what they need to learn, because our goal is to have them employable in less than a year. So we want to make sure that we take the fastest way possible to employment. So we can accept students all the time because they're coming in, we evaluate them, and then we create pretty much an individual training plan for them. And then students show us through the ability to actually do the work. Their mentor assesses them. And so that's how we're able to do it quickly.
How much time do they devote to the program?
That's varied because of people's circumstances. So after having a few years of doing this program now, I'm really starting to see where needs for support are for our students. So for example, one student was riding the bus 5 hours a day, like 2.5 hours each direction to the training. So there's 5 hours taken away. Other people will have to work too. So I've had students only able to come 2 or 3 hours or 4 hours a day. So ideally, if we're trying to get someone employed in this line of work in less than a year, we need them 8 hours a day. And if I could, ask for a wish, it would be that as people transition from incarceration back into society, or from active duty into the civilian workforce, or same thing with recovery, if we could find a way to provide transportation, housing, food, some of the basics, so that people can focus on their training, because typically on the first year after graduating our program, our students are making around $60,000 a year, which is kind of getting into that income of a living wage. Within 2, 3, sometimes 4 years, we believe we can have our students making over $100,000 a year. So I'd like to see us invest more in supporting our students so they can focus on the training so they can get employed faster. That just moves everybody along. And I think it's a more efficient use of our resources out there as well.
Describe a typical day for a student.
So a typical day is the same as it would be if you're employed. You come into the shop in the morning, you get dressed, you get ready to go. We have a meeting. We call it our board meeting, and that's where all the vehicles that are coming in for the day, we outline kind of a game plan for handling our appointments, processing the work that's been carried over. And so our students just come in and get to work. They'll be dispatched, an oil change or whatever car that they're working on, and they'll get to work on that. So we have kind of an 80-20 rule. We have 80% of our time in the shop with our hands-on vehicles, and then we have 20% of our time we spend in the classroom going over theory, electrical diagrams, things like that. So it's a mixture of both, and the day is varied, and that's what really helps with retention, is because we're not focused on remembering. We're just doing what's in front of us. The next thing comes in, and then when the car comes back for a day or two later for the same thing, it's easier to recall what was done. So there's no focus on memorization.
What's the attitude among the students?
Most of the time, it's excellent. Really, the students have brought a whole new level of energy to our business, to our team. Gratitude, hustle. I mean, they say yes to everything. There's no grumbling. There's no anything. It's just complete openness, willingness. You can tell that they're thankful for the opportunity. They're glad to be doing something. They're engaged in the process. And what's cool is they see the other mechanics around them as if they have superpowers. They're just amazed by what they can do. And so for mechanics, they don't really hear that a lot. They don't hear how great they are or how talented they are. And so they're hearing this from students, and it's really making everybody feel better about themselves.
And you offer more than just skill training. You teach them personal growth and partnering for employment and other kinds of skills.
Sure. Yeah, so there's more to being employed than just having a skill, right? We're humans. We have to be able to work together. And so the culture of our business really is to lift each other up, to help each other for the customer. The better we take care of each other, that affects our customers in a positive way, right? The energy in the building is higher. It's more, I don't know, there's a vibe that you can feel. We do a better job on the cars. And so we're teaching them how to interact a lot of times with others, how to handle disagreements and conflict. And there's nothing wrong with conflict. It's a natural part of human interaction, but it's more about how do we do it? How do we approach it? How do we listen more than we talk, right? And so all those soft skills, if you will, are sprinkled into what we do. And really we're trying to make our students employable. And, we want our students to go into their new jobs and really bring an energy that's missing. And that's what's going to help propel our program too, is because the people that come from project workforce are on fire.
Well, they need to have the expertise. Do they feel they have the expertise to go out in the world and take care of cars, which is very needed?
I don't think they feel they have the expertise, but they have the competency to
Oh, are you okay?
Yeah, they have the competency to do the work. The expertise comes later. They're going to learn on the job. They're going to have opportunities for advanced training as they go through their career. So we want to get them prepared with the basics so they can come in, they can do the work correctly, and the more higher level stuff they'll pick up in time.
Do you find there are other shops that are relying on you to provide them with employees?
Not yet. And the reason for that is we just do not have access to the funding that we need to really grow to our full potential. So
How are you funded?
right now, privately, just um, through other shop owners, through people that I talk to that are interested. Um, we need, there's a lot of work to do as far as being able to apply for grants. There's a lot of work that we need to do to kind of break through some old paradigms as far as how students are trained, because apprenticeship models are kind of, in my opinion, they're outdated and they're really not that functional. And so a lot of the funding is set up to continue to support programs that I think just aren't as effective as ours. So we don't exactly line up for the requirements for a lot of funding. So we're really breaking through a ton of barriers as we go. And, it's been slower going than I imagined.
How do students know about your program to be involved in the program?
We have an online presence. I've done a number of podcasts like this. I also do, we have booths and I've had the opportunity to speak at industry events. And so there's been a lot of just networking that has helped us get the word out, right? So we've had some publications in trade magazines and whatnot. So again, we're really just continuing to have conversations like this, so someone, will hear what we're doing and want to get involved, that can help us amplify our voice and our message. So I'm just doing what's in front of us as opportunities come up, but I would love to get a lot more people involved.
And are there any women involved?
On the support side, yes. We have had one female student come through our program. Her name is Priscilla. She did an amazing job. Very, very talented technician. Again, she had a lot of significant time barriers. She has a small child. She had to work. She had a bunch of other commitments to kind of just get her life going again. So that's another example of how I think if we could support our students better on that side, they could engage more in the training and it would be more effective.
Are they able to focus on the training and not on their problems that kind of got them there?
Yeah, I don't see that as a problem. Yeah, that's pretty much a non-issue by the time they get to us. The problems that they had that kind of got them incarcerated or in recovery or what have you, have usually been pretty much resolved, and so they're just really looking at what's ahead. I've noticed kind of a common theme: the people that are willing to talk about their past and their experience, that are just more or less an open book about it, seem to do the best. They just seem to be like, hey, this is me, this is my story, this is where I've been. It's not where I'm going to stay, and that's not where I'm going to end up. And so, here I am, take me or leave me. And I find that to be very, very powerful, because there's no shame in anything that we've done in the past if we've done our best to resolve it.
What does it take to be a good technician?
It takes a lot of focus. It takes a lot of just innate interest in fixing things. It takes curiosity, right? We have to be curious. How do things work? It takes a lot of pride, because it's a craft. They've got to have it's their workmanship. It's their art. So I think the ability to just working on a car is like learning a musical instrument. It's hard at first. You have to really want to do it in order to break through kind of that the disappointment. So there's a lot that goes into it, and I think desire and willpower and really being focused are probably the most important attributes.
And they have to be able to diagnose car problems in order to fix them.
Yeah, eventually. So our students, we're trying to prepare them to do most types of car repair, which are more maintenance type things, oil changes, brakes, all your scheduled maintenance stuff. Really know how to look up the right information, do the repair correctly. They're getting a feel for their hands. The more diagnostic side is going to come later once they have a pretty solid foundation. But most repair shops, since there is a shortage of skilled labor, they usually have one or two of their technicians that can do the diagnostics, but that takes time. And so they need other people to help support the bulk of the work that's going through the shop each day.
So in effect, they're like the nurse to a doctor in a mechanic shop.
I think that's fair to say. Sure, they're supporting,
yes,
in a way, but they're also, since not every car needs surgery, right? They're able to process a lot of what the car needs. And then, our students, when the technicians are doing a diagnostic or they're really testing a vehicle, they're observing the process. So they are learning those things, but it's not an expectation for graduation.
Give us a story about a student.
Well, I was really impacted by a gentleman named Raymond, and Raymond was a little older. I think he was probably about 50, and he said that he really wanted to do this kind of work, and he was afraid that he was too old. And I said, I don't think you're too old. Let's do it. And so Raymond is the one that rode the bus 2.5, 3 hours each way. He also, when he was in prison, he learned how to code and program computers. Like, he's an electrical genius. And so he actually helped us create training material too.
Oh, nice.
His attitude was excellent. His attendance was excellent. He would study on the bus. And what was really cool is we were able to write him a declaration. He was able to get his parole discharged while he was working with us. And then when he graduated from our program, he ended up moving, I think, to Iowa, somewhere in the Midwest, and is working and is starting his life over. And I just thought that was so cool. He was in a program that paid for his training, and so he got to focus pretty much all his time and attention on learning this skill. And he was probably the quickest to go through our program and the most thorough.
So how can the public help you?
We need volunteers.
We
need volunteers to help us, raise funds, do fundraisers. We need volunteers to help us with graphic arts, with web design, with technical writing. There's a lot of things that people could do to help us there. We're also going to need to get to a point where we can hire employees, because once we start to branch out of our location and get into other states and into other shops, we're going to need people to help do technical support and supporting our shops. So there's a lot that still needs to be done to have the impact that we want to have. So, right now, volunteers to connect with community partners, to refer students to us, help us find ways where we can have access to resources and things like that. So anybody who's interested in, the idea of what we're doing can contact us, and then we can just go from there.
How can they contact you?
The best way is to just email Chris at projectworkforce.org. That comes straight to me.
And then they can figure out where they can help out.
Sure, yeah, we can have a conversation and, find out what unique skills they have or what they have to offer, and, we could go from there.
When people hear about your organization, how do they react?
Oh, they say it's great. Oh, wow, what a great idea. What a great service. Thank you for doing it. I would like to get the next step past that, is where people take action, because the last 4 years I've been the one doing most of the work, if not all. And it's getting to the point where it's more than I can do with everything else I have going on in my life. So it would be great to go from talking about how interested they are to actually rolling up their sleeves and giving me a hand. That'd be great.
Thank you, APAC ATI Project Workforce founder and CEO Chris Knuth, for being on Impact OC. And I thank everyone for tuning in. I'm OC Talk Radio Public Affairs Director Dawn Camber. Have an impactful day.
You've been listening to Impact OC, the only program showcasing the people and organizations shaping our community. Right here on Orange County's only community radio station, OC Talk Radio.